Hey guys, I'm Ray. I am a member of Thames Dragons and also a Prem paddler as well. So I am a personal trainer as well as a nutrition coach at the same time. So today I'm going to go through 7 fundamental exercises. We're going to focus on what muscle groups we're targeting, how to really execute that particular exercise safely and correctly. And we're going to be focusing on the plank, the hinge, the pull, rotation, push, lunge and squats. Okay, so those are the exercises we're going to be focusing on today, and then at the end we're going to bring it all together into a workout program. Cool, let's get ourselves started. So the first exercise we've got is the plank. Now the plank is a very important movement as we're going to be constantly using our core to fight against gravity. Okay, so we're holding the plank position. Gravity is going to want us to push, want us to drag our hips forward. Okay. So this is what we call an anterior pelvic tilt. Okay? So as you do that, you may feel a bit of pressure on your lower back. Okay? So instead, we want to be fighting against that. Okay? So we're going to be tilting the hips forward into what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. So we're tilting the pelvis towards the ribs, and we're going to be holding our position down and really engaging the core. Okay? Now the core is very important because it allows force to travel through. Okay? So when you're paddling, you're going forward and you have to hold this position. If you've got a weak core, then you start hunching, okay? You can't really generate much force in this kind of hunch position. From here, if you're pushing down here, you're going to generate all the way from your glutes, your legs, all the way up, and then drive down into the paddle and into the water, which is going to propel you forward. So the core is very, very important. So let's get started. So first off, you're going to have your elbows in line with your shoulder. You're going to make the train tracks, okay? So from your fingers to elbow, from knees to foot, one straight line, okay? Now, from here, as I mentioned earlier, we want to go into a posterior pelvic tilt. So we're tilting our pelvis towards our ribs. We're going to hold this position here, squeezing the glutes together, okay? You should feel your abs wanting to drop, but we're not going to allow that to happen, okay? Just hold it steady. Good. Good. Over to the next exercise. Okay, so the next exercise is the hinge. Okay, so the hinge basically means the bend from the hips. Okay, so we're going to be practicing the deadlift position, but how we do it correctly is we imagine that there is a straight line or pole, if you will, from the back of my head, my shoulder blades, to my tailbone. Okay. So from here, I want to keep my chest out, okay, squeeze my shoulder blades together. I'm going to have a slight bend on the knees, and then from here, I don't allow anywhere from here to move, okay? So from here, I'm just leaning forward. Okay, there's no movement along here, okay? So down and up. So on the way down, you should feel a nice stretch along the hamstrings. Now, if you find that a little bit too difficult, you're not quite getting it just yet, the mind-muscle connection isn't quite there, try this. Grab yourself a kettlebell. From here, put it behind you. You're holding it with both hands behind. From here, immediately, my chest is out. My shoulder blades are squeezed together, my scapula retracted. And from here, again, back of the head, shoulder blades, tailbone. One straight line. Bend the knees slightly. I'm going to push my bum back, keep my head forward. Okay? So this is a hinge position. Remember, I'm just bending my knees a little bit just to allow a bit of pressure to be taken off from my lower back. And up. Just a light bend. Okay. If you bend too much, it starts to become a squat. Okay. So just a light bend, push forward. Now, once you get the hang of that, put the kettlebell or weight in front of you. Okay. Always keep it in front, always keep it just in front of the shins by the middle of your feet. Now from here, remember, chest out, push the bum back, the bum comes back first. Bend the knees a little bit, and then stop bending, and then just allow the hips to move forward, and shoulders move forward. Now from here, just a light touch on the floor, and don't think about lifting the weight up, okay? Think about pushing the ground down. So you're holding onto a bar, and you're basically pushing the ground into itself. Now from here, push the ground down, lift up. Hips back first, light touch, straight up. Excellent. So, the next exercise we've got is a single arm row. Okay, so this is going to be our pull motion. Now, with this this exercise, it's very important to focus on resisting rotation. Okay, that's the key word here. Now, when you pull up, naturally you want to rotate. Okay, so this time around, you're going to allow yourself to hold pretty much a plank position with your body. You're just going to pull, but don't allow yourself to rotate. As soon as you rotate, you start changing the angle on your shoulder, and from here you start using the back of the shoulder and disengaging the lat. Okay, we want to be keeping the elbow nice and tucked and don't allow it to flare. As you rotate, you start to flare. Okay, so when you're pulling down, what I like to do is try and keep your arms as straight as you can. Okay. And then after the point you can't keep it straight anymore, then you start bending. So you're bending towards the hip. So if you bend straight up, driving from here, there's too much elbow bend there, and then that becomes more of a bicep exercise. We're basically trying to do a bicep curl for a pull motion. So what you want to do from here, very important, pull the shoulder blades back first, okay? So from here, pull the shoulder blades back, and then drag down, pull up, down. So relax the shoulder blade, pull the shoulder blade up, drag down, and up. Okay. You want your hand to be heading towards your hip, okay, not the chest. So here there's a lot of bend. So let's try that again. Pull the shoulder blade up, drag down, and up. So don't allow your body to rotate. Good. You should feel that along the lats. So next is a rotate. So for the rotation exercise, we're going to focus on a Russian twist. Now, to perform a Russian twist, okay, we are going to push our legs forward. We're going to hold this position. This is known as a boat hold. Okay. Now from here, we'll put our hands together. We're going to rotate. But as we rotate, we're going to try and rotate with the shoulders. Okay. We're not going to allow our hand to glide. So what happens is, if you're allowing your hand to glide, you're just going to move your hands. Okay. So generally, what you want to do, rotate the shoulders. Look to where you're rotating. As you're looking to where you rotate, generally your body follows, okay? Unless you've been beheaded, that's generally true. So you're going to rotate over, turn, control, and then rotate to the other side. Now if you've got a dumbbell, please by all means use a dumbbell. But one key thing to do, not to do even, with a dumbbell is don't put the weight on the floor, okay? Because generally what happens is, from here you just throw yourself and you just relax, okay? And then you throw yourself, and then you relax. So you want to hold it, controlled, down, controlled, down. Okay. You should feel your core is engaged because you're holding yourself, fighting from gravity, which is pulling you to lay that down. Okay. Now, the whole time you're twisting, and then you have to fight against all your weight going one direction to the other. So you've got two opposing muscles doing two different things. One's stretching, one's pulling, and then you alternate. Then the other side is pulling, the other side is contracting as well. So it's a very good exercise to focus on rotation. Okay. Cool. Go to the next one. So next is our push exercise. So the push exercise we're going to be doing is a press up. So there are a few fundamentals with the press up. There's loads of variations, but there are still always fundamentals. One of them being don't have your elbows up. Okay. Now, if you try and do a press up from here, you may find that you're not using that much chest. Okay. The job of the chest is to bring the elbow in. So it connects to the middle of your sternum to the humerus, the bone here. So by getting your elbow in, that engages the chest. But by here, there's not that much movement in the elbow. So it's very important to have your hands in line with the chest. You're going to be pushing from in line with the chest. Another thing that's quite important as well is your hand positioning. So when I'm coming down, I want my hand to be directly underneath my elbow. If I'm too far in, you may realize that it becomes more of a tricep extension. Okay? Triceps, small muscle, chest, big muscle, use the chest. So when I'm coming down to a press up, I'm engaging the core, I'm squeezing my glutes, and not allowing my pelvis to drop down. So with all that together, palms in line with the chest, engage the core, you're going to come down, press up, and down, press up. Okay? So with this, there are a lot of variations to a press up. You can have your hands closer in, become more tricep dominant. That's fine if you want to work on your tricep. It all depends on what you want from the exercise. If you want a little more chest, you want the hands in line with the chest, roughly about 45 degrees out. If you want shoulders, probably do a shoulder press. Don't do this, because that could potentially give you a shoulder impingement, and I'm pretty sure no one wants that. Good. Next exercise. So the next exercise we've got is a lunge. Now, the lunge can be quite a complicated exercise because you can be quite quad dominant in this exercise. So a lot of people want to use their quads, but in reality, you want to use your quads and glutes together. Okay, you want to use them equally. So the best way to do this is to A, keep a hips width. Okay, so just remember, you're in a tight alleyway. Okay, only your hips can get through. So you're going to be touching the edges of that alleyway. So hip width, you're going to come down. You want a 90 degree in the front leg, 90 degree on the back leg, but no touching the knee on the floor. From here, I want to go forward and up at the same time, never up and forward. So the job of the glute is to push from this angle up, okay? So it's trying to get my knee as high as I can and drive it down. Now if I go into lunge position and I go up and forward, so as soon as I come up, you may have noticed that the angle between my hip and my knee has really changed. From here, I've kind of disengaged the glute. I'm using more of the quads. So I want to go from here, forward, and up. There's going to be moments where I'm basically standing on one foot. I'm driving down with that heel. Very important to push with the heel and not the ball of your foot. When you start pushing the ball of your foot, it becomes more of a calf exercise. Calf is a very strong muscle, but it's not as strong as the glutes. Okay? Another thing to notice as well is your positioning of your foot. So when you're coming down to a lunge, it's very easy to go into internal rotation. So as you internally rotate, what happens is you're trying to drive down into the ground. Gravity is trying to pull you down. Okay, so you're trying to go up, gravity is trying to get you down. So all that force is traveling in different angles. Okay, so when that happens, it puts a lot of pressure on the knee. So what generally happens is when this is happening, you want to push your knee outwards. Okay, you want to promote the arch in your feet, and then from here, your hip, knee, and heel are in one straight line. Since it's in a straight line, it's more linear. You can drive up a lot more efficiently. Okay, give that a go. So next we have the squats. Now, the squat is actually quite a complicated exercise. There's so many different ways you can have your foot positioned. Okay, so you can have a very narrow stance, hip width stance, double hip width stance. There's so many different ways, and also on top of that, you've got the angle of your feet as well. So there's a lot of complications with that, but at the same time, there is always the notion of you should do whatever you can. Okay, there's some fundamental rules you need to follow by, but other than that, you're generally pretty okay to do whatever you want with this one. So one of the few things you shouldn't do is this. Okay, so when you're going down to a squat, you should focus on bending the hips as well as the knees. Okay, so what a lot of people do is start doing this. Okay, so as my knees are going forward, my heels are starting to come up. Okay, when that happens, you may find that it's quite difficult to lose balance. So if I'm squatting with weights or anything like that, that becomes so much more dangerous when I'm doing my squats. So instead, what you should do from here, go to anterior pelvic tilt. So push the pelvis back. From here, bend the knees and keep driving your bum back. Okay. Now, there's a lot of people that keep saying you should always go ass to grass, ass to grass, or so what that means is you're dipping as low as you possibly can. Now, that is true if mobility allows. Now, if you're not able to go that low, what generally happens is you start coming down and everything's fine, everything's fine, everything's fine. And after a while, after you've gone past the knee, generally what happens is your hips start to dip under. Okay? So earlier when we were doing the deadlift, you may have heard me mention about keeping your head, shoulder blades and tailbone straight. So when that starts to dip, that's no longer straight. So if I'm holding onto a bar and trying to drive up, my back is no longer straight to help me support that load. So all that pressure of me driving up, gravity pulling the weight down, is going to go into my lower back. So with that said, yes, you should go as low as you can comfortably wherever mobility allows. Okay? Don't allow the hips to come under, which is also known as a butt wink. Okay? So the other thing to notice as well is your foot positioning. So when you're coming up, make sure you're driving with the heels. Okay? So unless you're doing a sissy squat, then by all means. So you want to be coming down, keeping the heel on the ground and driving the ground down to push yourself up. Okay? Try not to allow your heels to come up. Okay? So those people that find it difficult to keep the heels down, you may find it easier to have a wider stance, okay? Now, if you're finding it difficult to do the squats, you can always turn the foot out, okay? There's so many different variations you can do to allow you to do the best squat you can. But what's important is that you keep the back of the head, shoulder blades and tailbone in one straight line on the way down and then up. The next thing that you shouldn't do is allow for internal rotation. So what that means is when you come down, your knees are coming inwards, okay? So previously that I mentioned in the lunge, you have all your weight driving down and then you're trying to push yourself up. So if that happens, I've got this cross of energy going through. So what I want to do is push my knees out, okay? I want to promote the arch in my foot. From here, drive it down, push myself up. So when that happens, all this is linear. So the force travels up and down on one straight line and it makes this a lot more efficient, okay? The last thing you want to do is put all that pressure onto the side of your knees blow out and then from here you've got knee injuries, okay? Cool, let's move over to next. So guys, that is all 7 of the fundamental movements. So now we're going to bring that all together into a workout routine. So what we're going to do, a 40-second of active work, 20 seconds rest for all 7 of them. And while we do that, I'm going to show you some ways we can do progressions and regressions as well. So let's get ourselves started. First off, we've got a plank. We're going to hold 40 seconds. Right, ready and go. Right. So make sure your palms are in one straight line. So think train tracks. Okay, you can hold this position, engage the core, hold it there. Good. 25 seconds. Focus on your breathing, hold it steady. Good. Engage that core, tilt the pelvis towards the ribs. Good, you got 10 seconds. You got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Right, so next we've got deadlifts. So, deadlifts, we're going to grab the weight, okay? Remember, keep the head, shoulder blades and tailbone straight. We're going to hinge down, a little bend on the knees, the rest is on the hips, and then push the ground down. Okay, let's go. Down, up, down, up. Make sure I'm not looking forward on the way down, because what happens is my head comes up, okay? So I'm keeping everything straight. Okay, you should feel a nice stretch on the hamstring coming up. Okay, if you find this a little bit too easy, we can go into a kettlebell swing. So from here, swing it up. Swing it up. Remember, it's a forward and backwards motion, not an up and down. So try not to bend the knees too much. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Next, we've got a bent over row. So, we're going to go both sides for this one. We've got 10 seconds. So we're going to lean ourselves forward from here, pull the shoulder blade back, drag down, pull up towards the hip. Got 2, 1. Let's go. So pull down, bend, up. Shoulder blade down, shoulder blade up. Pull. Good. If you need to, hold yourself to balance. Okay? Remember, no rotating with this one. We're fighting against rotation. Okay. Try and keep that elbow as tucked in as close as you can. Good. 15 seconds. Good job. Breathe, squeeze when you get to the top, and then down. Drag down, up. Good. You got 2, 1. Relax. Good. Over to the other side. Okay. Anything we do both sides. So remember, hold yourself for support, resist rotation, drag down, pull the shoulder blade up and up. Okay. Focus on squeezing that lat. Let's go. So, shoulder blade up, drag down, up. Good. Now, if you want to make this a little bit more difficult, okay, have a wider stance, lean forward a little bit more. So this way you're pulling more towards the ground. The slight change of angle changes your range of motion. Good. So remember, relax the shoulder blade, pull the shoulder blade, drag down and up. No rotating. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Next, we've got rotations. So we've got Russian twists. So we're going to sit ourselves down. From here, over to a bolt hold position. So legs out, lean yourself back. From here, we're rotating with the shoulders, holding this position. Okay, let's go. Rotate over. Remember, focus on rotating the shoulders and look to where you're rotating. Good. Focus on your breathing. Don't lose your balance. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. Come on, guys. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. Next, we've got a press up. So, for the press up, remember, palms in line with the chest. For me, I'm going to try and use as much chest as I can, so I'm going to keep my elbows at a 45 degree. I'm going to exhale as I'm pushing out. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Remember, palms underneath the elbow, okay? I don't want my triceps to be burning out. Now, if you're finding this too difficult, just put your knees on the floor, that's perfectly fine. Good, inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. Good job, guys. 2, 1, relax. Good job. So, next we've got a lunge, okay? So, for the lunge, remember, we're going to come back, we're going to stick to one leg at a time with this one. We're going to come back, 90 degree in the front leg, 90 degree in the back leg, come forward and up, okay? Let's go. Lunge, forward and up, as if you're going upstairs, okay? Don't allow yourself to go up then forward. Down, up. Make sure you're driving from the heel. Good. Now, if you're finding this too difficult, by all means, grab yourself a chair and just hold on to it for stability, okay? So that way you don't have to worry about the balancing side, you just worry about pushing. Okay, good. Excellent. We got 5 seconds. 2, 1, relax. Good, 20 seconds, we're going to do the other leg. Okay, so just now I just finished with my right leg going back, now my left leg is going to be going back. But same applies, okay, 90 degree front leg, 90 degree back leg, pushing down on the front heel, going forward then up. Okay, let's go. So, down. Very important to remember, hips, knee, heel, straight line, okay? You're driving down, we don't want internal rotation, okay? None of that. You'll thank your knees later, or your knees will thank you later. 20 seconds. Good. Remember, keep the heel down. Don't allow yourself to go onto the ball of your feet. Okay, take the calves out of it. And relax. Good. Next, squats. So, for the squat, I'm going to push the knees out, sit ourselves down, and up. Okay? So I'm going to leave it up to you in the positioning of your feet. You can have it 45 degrees, you can have it wide, you can have it narrow. Okay? I prefer to have shoulders width. Okay? Let's go. So down, hips back first, and up. Good. make sure your hips are taking in the full range of motion. Okay, so all the way forward, all the way back. Okay, pretend you're sitting on a chair. Okay, down and up. Again, pushing with the heels, making sure the knees are in line with the heels. Now, if you are having a wider stance, obviously your knees are not going to be in line with your pelvis anymore, but knees in line with heels are very important. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax. Well done, guys. Now, that's the workout finished. You can basically replay this video as many times as you want, and just do it as many times as you want. But one key thing you guys may have noticed, okay? So the job of the core, okay, is to facilitate movement as well as resisting movement at the same time. So a plank, for example, you're holding the plank here and gravity is trying to pull you to tilt forward, okay? You're trying to resist that movement, okay? So you're holding it tight, you're resisting that movement, okay? So the job of the core is to go into spinal flexion, spinal extension. So by a plank, you're resisting spinal extension, okay? Now, another movement is lateral flexion extension, okay? We did a little bit of resisting of that with the squats and lunges because you can obviously pull to the sides, okay? And next is rotations, okay? So obviously rotations we did with Russian twists. So everything we did today has relevance to the core, okay? So even though the first exercise we did is the plank, everything else still has its movement within the planking, within the foundations of the plank, okay? Good. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the session. If you do have any questions, please drop me over a message. I'm on Instagram at RayChanPT. Other than that, have a lovely day and hopefully see you guys in the next races. Take care.